Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ian Wishingrad, host of Adweeks. I'm with the brand. And like last week, and who knows how long it's been, I'm coming live to you from my house. Normally, we shoot this in Adweek Studios in New York for 45 minutes and cut it down to 10 minutes. But today, we're going to go live for 10 minutes. You could watch us on adweek.com, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, any platform you could find Adweek, we will be streaming live. Today, joining us is Mark Olivieri, the president of Owyn. Owyn's protein drink. Mark, are you ready to answer some questions?
I am.
All right. What does OWYN stand for?
It's a acronym for only what you need.
Do you care how people pronounce OWYN?
Yeah, of course. I mean, at the end of the day, I want them to pronounce it accurately. So the correct way to say it is Owyn, and thus far we haven't seemed to have any issues with that.
Did you start in retail or e-com? And which one is more important?
We started in e-com, actually. We started with Amazon and direct-to-consumer about 3 months ahead of our retail launch. I wouldn't say one is more important than the other. They both have to interact in a symbiotic way. One channel or within a channel might be more profitable than the other. So one might be more of a cash generator. One might be more of a platform to learn. Another one might be efficient from a media perspective. One might be great from just a trial, adoption, and presence in the marketplace. So they all have their different functions.
Okay. Coronavirus, has it had an impact on your business?
Yeah, so e-commerce, retail, like most brands, we're seeing issues with foot traffic, just going to store. Luckily, we are a protein brand. Protein's an essential part of anyone's diet. So from a protein requirement perspective, we're not seeing a drop off among our loyal consumers. What we are seeing is more of a slowdown in trial and adoption from those who, are trying to navigate, what's next from a nutrition point of view for their daily consumption.
Last month, Cardi B donated 20,000 bottles. Why Cardi B?
So Cardi B actually came to us. She loves Owyn. She uses our meal replacement actually in her daily life. She loves it because it's a great way to get clean nutrition into your body, manage weight, manage calories, get the protein, etc. She also was one of the early, voices out there in terms of COVID-19, especially in New York. So when this really began to blow up in late March, she approached us and said she wanted to raise some bottles and donate these bottles to New York State when New York State was looking for food and beverage supply to support frontline staff, paramedics, first responders, etc.
But my only question is, Cardi B, looking at your brand and the assets I see out there and the thing, Cardi B is like such a very popular, but like so not what I would have assumed as a person. Did you have any concerns working with her?
Not at all. I think maybe go back 2 decades, people would assume protein equals fitness or protein equals muscle. Today, the definition of fitness and wellness and just general body development has completely evolved. I mean, people are not going to or most people are not going to gyms looking to bulk up and add muscle mass. People are just looking for good cardio, good tone, good strength, and just general wellness and fueling your body through healthy protein as opposed to through sugar and carbs. So for us, we see Owyn as a lifestyle brand, not necessarily positioned toward fitness and competitive team sport athletes, but really positioned toward anybody that needs protein, AKA humans. And that's really kind of how we designed the brand. We designed it to be gender neutral and to really fit and speak to the mass mainstream consumer as opposed to just the athlete or just the male meathead.
So there's a lot of protein out there, and you're not the first ready to drink protein. What opportunity did you see?
There's a lot of protein out there, but it's a very confusing category. So for example, prior to us, you would have brands like Muscle Milk. It's milk, but it's also non-dairy. That's very confusing. You had brands like Orgain. They had a dairy option and a vegan option. It's very confusing, especially if you have a lactose sensitivity. You don't know if they're running their dairy option prior to their vegan option, or are they properly cleaning the lines? The opportunity that we saw was to really deliver a message of truth and transparency across everything we do. So we authenticate that mission of truth and transparency by testing all of our ingredients before manufacturing and all of our finished production after manufacturing. We test it to validate that we're free of the top 8 food allergens. So that means we're free of dairy, soy, gluten, wheat, egg, peanuts, tree nuts, fish, and shellfish. And that's a huge opportunity that really no brand is taking advantage of today. There's 30% of US households are actively struggling and to manage a food allergy or sensitivity. But really are very little brands, especially in protein, which is a very confusing category, that are giving solutions to those consumers. So we built Owyn as a truth and transparency platform. It speaks to that mission and message of only what you need.
One of the challenges of making a plant-based protein is actually making it taste good. How do you actually make plant-based protein taste good and not weird?
Well, I mean, that's our secret sauce. I could say that it took us about 3 to 4 years. Our founders, Jeff Mraz and Catherine Moose, they developed the product for about 3 to 4 years prior to the pre-revenue acquisition that Clearly Capital and Halen Brands had on the brand. So they spent a lot of time looking at different kinds of proteins, different kinds of ingredients to really deliver a protein that didn't taste like a lot of the other plant-based proteins. Most plant-based proteins tend to be gritty, or they have some sort of earthy or grassy taste or afternotes to them. Our protein doesn't have any of that. And so it resembles that dairy profile in a non-dairy format.
What's been your single biggest media investment to date?
E-commerce. So across e-commerce, we invest heavily in 3 formats: paid social, MS, which is paid search on Amazon, and AMG, which is the Amazon Media Group.
Right. But what's been the biggest, like, a billboard or a TV spot or whatever? Like, what's been the biggest where you've written a check and it's that biggest? What's the biggest media investment to date?
Yeah, it's been AMG.
Okay. Now, how do you evaluate your advertising?
Most brands look at ROAS, so simply what's your return on this given ad spend. That's important, but what it doesn't take into account is the margin on that spend. And so we're looking at a margin-based ROAS. And so when you combine that with the cost to acquire a customer, that's really ultimately kind of how we're blending our viewpoint on the efficacy of different media spends.
What do you think you're doing well that other brands aren't?
Yeah, our philosophy as a whole, from just a general brand perspective, agnostic of any kind of channel, is brand presence drives brand preference. So wherever we show up, we want to make sure we have a great kind of billboard impact. So at retail, you will find Owyn on end caps, you'll find Owyn spacing on shelf, you'll find Owyn in incremental perimeter placement throughout the store, because again, that philosophy of seeing the brand beyond the shelf in a visible, impactful way, that's going to drive trial and adoption. Same with e-commerce, right? How can we build that presence on e-commerce? It's obviously different. There's a digital shelf, but there's many different things you could do from a D2C or an Amazon, and even just a total digital perspective to build that presence. So it's not just a game of impressions, but it's a game of building impactful impression.
What brands have you seen in the space, in the food and beverage space, have you looked at and gone, damn, that was good, I wish we had done that?
One of my favorites would be Oatly. I think they've done just a great job from a tone and a voice perspective, and really across everything they do. It could be a job post, for example. That Oatly tone and voice comes out. The brand is real. Like, if there was a name to the brand, like, there's definitely a persona that I could think of that brand really resembles. Now they take that and they bring it across everything they do, right? And so I think they've done a great job at really building out that brand presence. Okay.
Last minute or two, you got to be rapid fire with these. What category would Owyn potentially enter that it hasn't yet?
I would say another form of beverage.
Okay. How do you decide what gets made next? What flavor?
We've acquired a great D2C customer base. We survey them. We tap into them for understanding preference with our loyal customers.
What's been the coolest feedback you've ever gotten?
Every day we receive inbound messages of people who couldn't have a certain item or they had a certain medical reason for dietary restriction. We're receiving inbound messages every day on how thankful they are for the message and the mission that we have of just really bringing full transparency so that people have a very safe option for their nutritional intake.
What's the hardest part about your job?
Culture. Culture is something that does not come overnight. Culture is more than just a philosophy. Culture is something that literally you have to fight for across all levels of the organization, especially right now when people are not interacting, people are not seeing each other, people are not going to the office, people are not meeting up, right? So maintaining a culture is the hardest thing in the present time.
What's been your most brand defining moment to date?
I would say a big point of validity for us from a consumer perspective would be seeing a couple things. One, high repeat rate. Two, on Amazon hitting the top 10 as a vegan protein drink among other protein drinks. Like that was massive for us. And so, we have a great loyal following, and being able to push into a top 10 of a protein drink on Amazon, that was a huge win and really validated what we're doing.
All right, last two questions. What's your favorite idea you've never executed?
Can't say. If I had to give you that idea, it would not, it just wouldn't work out for anybody but myself. It's something I'm really passionate about.
Okay. Well, in the ad world, usually 95% of our ideas die. So maybe it's a little different, but we're used to just, all these cool ideas never happen.
There's a lot of legacy brands out there, right? It's time that someone goes up and finds a way to knock down the share from some of these behemoth legacy brands.
Sure. I just wanted to know what that idea was. I'm going to get you there, but I guess it's coming. Okay. And then last, if you could have one redo from the day you launched until now, what would you redo?
I would put more focus on channels that allow for a stronger sense of customer build out, right? So again, going to that theme of presence equals preference, strategically rolling out to the right retail partners that will allow you to actually build out something in store, to go in and execute at the store level. There's customers out there right now that really don't allow that. They have a clean floor policy, and it's, you don't want to be a brand tucked away on a shelf and that's the only area to execute in store. You want to get them at that moment of truth, and being able to build out that presence in store is critical. So that focused investment behind those customers out of the gate.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark. So Mark Olivieri, president of Owyn, thank you so much for joining us. And everyone at home or wherever you are, thank you for joining us too. You could always watch more episodes on adweek.com/I'mWithTheBrand. And I'll see you next week, Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of I'm With The Brand Live. Thank you so much.